We now know that at that time, between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago, truly global cataclysmic events involving rapid rises in sea level.
Yeah.
Researchers in Turkey now claim they found indisputable evidence that the story of Noah's Ark was not a cautionary tale about the consequences of forsaking God, but a verifiable historical event.
The discovery of a 538-foot-long boat-shaped mound in Turkey has reignited the centuries-old search for Noah's Ark. This formation, known as the Durupinar site, matches the dimensions described in the book of Genesis with striking accuracy. What makes this discovery particularly compelling is the scientific evidence. But here's where it gets even wilder. Scientific tests show the soil inside has twice the organic matter and strange angular patterns buried deep beneath. So, is this proof the Ark was real, or just nature playing tricks again? Stay tuned. The discovery that shocked the world. The story of the Durupinar Formation is one that has stirred curiosity, faith and debate for decades, and it all began in the most unexpected way. On May 19, 1948, after days of heavy rain and a series of earthquakes, something unusual happened in the mountains of eastern Turkey. The ground shifted, and the muddy slopes revealed what seemed to be the outline of a massive, boat-shaped structure. A Kurdish shepherd named Reşit Sarihan was the first to notice it, but at the time, who could have guessed that his quiet discovery would one day draw the attention of scientists, explorers, and believers from around the world? It was just a curious shape in the earth, sitting quietly beneath layers of time and mystery. For years, that strange outline remained forgotten until October 1959, when a Turkish army captain named İlhan Durupinar spotted it from the sky during a NATO aerial mapping mission. He was analyzing photographs when his eyes caught something that didn't quite fit the natural landscape, a shape that looked unmistakably like a giant ship. What were the chances that a landlocked mountain range could hide such a thing? It was so striking that Durupinar couldn't shake it off. The shape, the size, the eerie precision of what he'd spotted. He quickly reported it to the Turkish government, not realizing that moment would change his life forever. Before long, his name would be etched into history, tied to a mysterious mountain formation that still sparks debates today, the Durupinar Formation. But here's where things take a turn. What began as a simple discovery soon spiraled into one of the most chilling mysteries of modern archaeology. Because when scientists finally stepped inside what many believed to be Noah's Ark, what they uncovered left the entire world questioning everything they thought they knew. Stay with me till the very end, you won't believe what they found. Soon after, in 1960, the Archaeological Research Foundation launched an expedition to investigate the mysterious site. For 2 full days, the team dug into the earth and even resorted to dynamite in hopes of uncovering what lay beneath. But after all their effort, they found no visible evidence of wood, metal, or any man-made material. Their conclusion was blunt. It wasn't a ship or an ancient artifact, but merely a geological oddity, a freak of nature shaped by erosion and time. With that, the site faded once again into obscurity. People moved on. Or so it seemed. Then, years later, in 1977, a man named Ron Wyatt stumbled upon the site and reignited the world's curiosity. Wyatt was not a traditional archaeologist, but an amateur explorer with a deep fascination for biblical history. He believed that this formation was no coincidence, that perhaps it was the final resting place of Noah's Ark itself. Isn't it fascinating how one person's belief can breathe life back into something the world had forgotten? Through the 1980s, Wyatt's persistent efforts caught the attention of others, including David Fasold and geophysicist John Baumgartner. Together, they brought new tools, new eyes, and new energy to the mystery. Fasold, upon seeing the site for the first time, declared without hesitation that it looked exactly like a shipwreck. Using ground-penetrating radar and a frequency generator designed to detect iron, the team recorded readings that amazed even the skeptics. The structure measured about 538 feet long, astonishingly close to the biblical description of 300 cubits. Could this really be a coincidence? Or was there something ancient hidden beneath that soil waiting to be rediscovered? For years, debate raged quietly among those who believed and those who didn't. But then technology advanced, and the Durupinar formation was examined again, this time with the precision of modern science. Between 2014 and 2021, a new wave of researchers brought in advanced scanning technologies such as ground-penetrating radar, GPR, electrical resistivity tomography, ERT, and LIDAR. The results, when revealed, stunned the world. These tools uncovered what appeared to be corridors and room-like chambers running along the entire length of the formation. The 2019 GPR data, reanalyzed in 2023, painted an even more vivid picture. A 234-foot central corridor with angular structures extending nearly 20 feet below the surface. It almost sounded too perfect, too deliberate, to be a mere quirk of nature. Then came the soil tests, which added yet another layer to the mystery. Samples collected from inside the formation were found to contain nearly 3 times more organic material than those taken from the surrounding ground. What did that mean? Scientists suggested it could point to ancient biological matter, or perhaps the remnants of something man-made long buried by time. The findings lit a spark that quickly spread beyond the scientific community. Soon, the media caught wind of it, and headlines exploded across major outlets like Fox News, News Nation, and the New York Post. Phrases like evidence of Noah's Ark and ship-shaped structure in Turkey filled the news cycle. Andrew Jones, the lead researcher for the Noah's Ark scans team, told reporters that his team had found a shape of a ship, matching the biblical dimensions of 300 Royal Egyptian cubits. For believers, it felt like confirmation of an ancient story passed down for generations. For skeptics, it was another case of wishful thinking dressed in scientific language. Even as excitement grew, the scientific community remained divided. Many geologists and archaeologists argued that the formation was purely geological, a natural product of mudflow and erosion. They pointed out that previous discoveries of Noah's Ark had all failed under close examination, and they warned that extraordinary claims required extraordinary evidence. Still, those who believed in the site's significance were not discouraged. Could it be that science was simply not yet advanced enough to see what faith had long believed? Despite all the skepticism, the Durupinar formation continues to draw attention. Each new scan, each test, and each debate adds another chapter to a story that refuses to fade. Today, Turkish authorities are considering whether to approve a full-scale excavation, an effort that could finally provide definitive answers. What if they really do uncover evidence of a massive ancient vessel beneath those layers of earth? What if, after centuries of searching and speculation, the story of Noah's Ark turned out to have a tangible trace in the mountains of Turkey? Until that day comes, the Durupinar formation remains suspended between myth and science, belief and evidence. It's a place where faith meets geology, where imagination meets data, and where the past still whispers through stone and soil. And perhaps that's what makes it so fascinating, because even in an age ruled by satellites, scanners, and supercomputers, there are still stories that technology can't fully explain. Some mysteries refuse to die, no matter how many times science tries to quiet them. And this one? It's not just ancient history. It's something that might rewrite what we thought we knew about faith, discovery, and the limits of human curiosity. So don't blink, because what's coming next might just leave you questioning everything you've ever heard, inside the Ark, and what the scans revealed. According to recent ground-penetrating radar scans of the Durupinar formation in Turkey, researchers have uncovered astonishing internal features that seem to line up almost perfectly with the biblical descriptions of Noah's Ark. Many are calling it one of the most remarkable archaeological findings of our time, while others are simply left wondering, could this really be the remains of the Ark itself? The discovery has sparked deep curiosity among scientists, historians, and believers alike, all drawn by the possibility that a structure described in one of the oldest stories ever told might actually exist beneath the Earth. The scans revealed something extraordinary, a clear pattern of 3 distinct layers hidden below the surface. These layers were not random or chaotic, but appeared organized in a way that mirrors the Bible's own description of the Ark's lower, second, and third decks. Was it coincidence, or could this be proof that the ancient account in Genesis 6:16 was describing a real structure? Researchers noted that each of these decks seemed to share a similar height with that of the ancient temple in Jerusalem, which was often seen as a miniature model of the universe. The parallels were so striking that even the most skeptical observers found themselves pausing to think. After all, how could such alignment between scripture and science occur by chance? Even more intriguing was the discovery of a long central corridor stretching an impressive 234 feet across the formation. This corridor, along with other side passages, ran the full length of the structure, suggesting that whoever built it had a clear sense of design and organization. Imagine walking through a massive wooden vessel with hallways connecting room after room. Could this be how the Ark looked from the inside? If authentic, these corridors would have allowed movement across a total of about 96,000 square feet, an area large enough to house hundreds of animals and people, just as the biblical story describes. Researchers could hardly ignore how the design made sense for a vessel meant to sustain life during a global flood. But the surprises didn't stop there. The scans also revealed what appeared to be unusual tunnel-like structures deep within the formation. Among them was a 13-foot passage running directly through the center, along with another large tunnel extending from the pointed end of the structure inward, reportedly wide enough for a person to walk through. What kind of ship from antiquity would feature such passages? Scientists suggested that these could have been part of a system that allowed air circulation, storage, or even water management within the Ark. Others speculated that they might represent half floors or mezzanine levels, cleverly designed to create space for storing food, separating animals, and moving between decks. It almost sounded too intricate for something that was supposedly built thousands of years ago. Yet here was the evidence, mapped in detail by modern technology. The radar data also uncovered angular shapes about 20 feet beneath the ground, showing clear right angles, features rarely found in natural rock formations. Could nature really produce such precise geometry on its own? Most geologists would say that nature tends to favor randomness, not clean, human-like design. This led researchers to believe that these could be the remains of rooms or chambers deliberately constructed inside the vessel. Biblical scholars imagined that these spaces might have once been living quarters for Noah and his family, perhaps containing separate sleeping areas, basic furniture, and even small stoves for cooking and baking. Some went so far as to envision simple tools scattered across the floor, or wooden ovens built low to the ground, just as ancient families might have used. If all of this truly belonged to Noah's Ark, then one might ask, what else could still lie hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Could there be preserved beams, artifacts, or signs of human craftsmanship that would finally settle the debate? The combination of structure, symmetry, and purpose in these findings raises questions that can't be easily dismissed. It challenges long-held assumptions about myth and reality, and invites both believers and skeptics to look again at a story they thought they knew. For centuries, people have debated whether the Ark was a metaphor, a myth, or a historical event. Now, with technology reaching places once untouched by human hands, the lines between faith and science seem to blur. Could this formation in the mountains of Turkey truly be the resting place of a vessel built to withstand a flood that changed the course of human history? Or is it another natural wonder that happens to mimic the sacred text with uncanny precision? Whatever the answer turns out to be, one thing seems certain. The discovery at Durupinar has cracked open one of humanity's oldest and most fascinating mysteries. For centuries, people have searched, argued, and even risked their lives to prove that Noah's Ark wasn't just a story, but a real vessel that once touched solid ground. And now, with this latest discovery, the world might finally be closer than ever. But what's really going on beneath those mountains? Could this be the proof we've all been waiting for? Stay with me till the very end. This gets even more unbelievable. The ongoing mystery of Noah's Ark. For centuries, people from different corners of the world have been drawn to one of the most enduring mysteries in human history, the search for Noah's Ark. From early explorers to modern-day believers, countless individuals have journeyed to distant mountains, convinced that the biblical vessel might still be waiting to be discovered. The Durupinar Formation in eastern Turkey, with its distinct boat-like shape, is only one chapter in this long and fascinating quest. Yet, it continues to fuel curiosity and debate. What is it about this ancient story that still makes people climb rugged peaks and brave harsh weather in hopes of uncovering something extraordinary? Over time, history has been filled with daring expeditions, many of them centered around Mount Ararat, the legendary resting place of the Ark according to the Bible. In 1876, a British explorer named James Bryce claimed to have found a fragment of wood high up on the mountain, nearly 13,000 feet above sea level. His discovery stirred excitement, though it was never scientifically verified. A few decades later, in 1916, Russian aviator Vladimir Roskovitsky reported spotting what appeared to be a massive boat-shaped object from the air. Could it have been the Ark, frozen in time beneath layers of ice and rock? Then there was George Hagopian, an Armenian man who swore that, as a young boy in 1902, he had climbed onto the Ark itself. His story captured imaginations, yet he offered no solid proof beyond his recollection. Again and again, such accounts seemed to blur the line between faith and fact. People wanted to believe, but how much of it was evidence, and how much was hope? The fascination with Noah's Ark is not confined to one religion or region. In truth, it's a story that stretches far beyond Christianity. Ancient flood narratives can be found in more than 200 cultures around the world. From the Mesopotamian tale of Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh to Native American oral traditions that speak of world-changing floods, humanity has always told stories about destruction, survival, and renewal. In Islam, too, the Quran speaks of the Ark, called Safina, coming to rest on Mount Judi after the Great Deluge. It's striking how people who never met, lived centuries apart, and came from vastly different lands all seem to share a collective memory of a flood that nearly ended the world. Could this mean that these ancient people were describing the same event through different cultural lenses? Beyond religion, the Ark has also become a symbol of something much larger, humanity's search for meaning and proof. For many believers, the Ark represents a promise, a sign that faith and divine truth are not merely stories but tangible history. Finding it would, to them, confirm the Bible's literal truth in a way no argument ever could. But for scientists and archaeologists, the interest lies elsewhere. They see the Ark not just as a relic of faith, but as a clue to understanding how ancient floods shaped human civilization. The geological record, after all, reveals evidence of large-scale regional flooding across various eras. Could the story of Noah have been inspired by one of these events, passed down and reshaped by generations until it became the epic we know today? Even now, the search continues. Despite centuries of disappointment, explorers and researchers have not stopped climbing, digging, and scanning every inch of Mount Ararat and beyond. Modern technology has brought new tools into the hunt: satellite imaging, radar mapping, and drone surveys that can penetrate deep layers of rock and ice. Each new expedition begins with hope and ends, more often than not, in more questions. But isn't that part of the allure? The idea that maybe, just maybe, the next clue lies beneath a sheet of ancient ice, waiting to be found. What keeps this mystery alive is not just the promise of discovery, but what it represents about human nature itself. People are drawn to mysteries that blur the line between faith and science, myth and reality. The Ark, in all its supposed forms and sightings, embodies that tension perfectly. It reminds us of our desire to connect the seen with the unseen, to find something that makes sense of our beginnings and our place in the world. Whether one believes it ever existed or not, the pursuit of Noah's Ark has become a story about human endurance, curiosity, and belief. It is less about finding a wooden ship and more about uncovering the truth buried within our shared history. And perhaps that's the real treasure, understanding why humanity, after all these centuries, still keeps looking up at the mountains and asking, what if it's really there? With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.